A white supremacist has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in the fatal shooting of 10 black people last year. The guilty Peyton Gendron has pleaded guilty to a total of 15 state charges, including murder and terrorism motivated by hate, stemming from the May 14th mass shooting in Buffalo. According to reports, Gendron still faces federal charges that could result in a death sentence if prosecutors choose to seek it. One person has been killed and 3 wounded in Texas mall shooting. According to police in El Paso, 1 person has been taken into custody. The 3 wounded have been hospitalized. The police has stated that the scene is secure and that officers are sweeping through the whole mall to verify the same. The Cielo Vista Mall is next to the Walmart store, where a gunman killed 23 people in August of 2019. Two men have been charged with gun-related crimes in connection to a Central Florida drive-by shooting that left 11 people wounded last month. The charged Nicholas Quinton Hansen and Marcus Dion Mobley Jr. were arrested and charged with possessing a firearm and ammunition as a convicted felon. Though the motives of the shooting have not been revealed, but the officials have previously called it a targeted attack. If convicted, they each could spend up to 15 years in federal prison. A third man connected to the shooting was shot by police on February 6th following a long chase and a carjacking. At least 2 people were killed following a Black Hawk helicopter crash in Alabama. Tennessee's Adjutant General Brigadier General Warner Ross said in a statement, "We ask Tennesseans to join us in supporting their families during this time of unthinkable grief." According to the Madison County Sheriff's Office, there were no injuries to anyone on the ground when the helicopter crashed. At least 12 civilians were injured as Russia continues its strikes in Ukraine. Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk is the latest to be hit, which had a pre-war population of 60,000. The governor of the city has stated that at least 2 more civilians are trapped under the rubble of a 5-story building which was struck down by Russian forces. Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said he was confident Western countries will supply fighter jets to Kiev to help fight Russia's invasion, even though some have been cool on the idea so far. In an interview in Brussels, Reznikov noted that Ukraine's allies had already ended up providing a range of Western weapon systems after initially saying they would not do so. Reznikov said Zelensky had asked him to remain as defense minister and hoped the future role of leading a legal battle to ensure Russian war crimes are punished would come after the end of the war. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson visited Kiev and expressed Sweden's support of Ukraine's EU integration. The Prime Minister said that they will do everything in their power to ensure Ukraine's rightful future as a member of the European Union. He told Kiev that they are European and they belong to Europe and to the EU. Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, hoped that the talks on his country's EU membership could begin this year. Sweden currently holds the EU's rotating presidency. France Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna holds talks with senior Chinese diplomat Wang Yi in Paris. Meeting was aimed at keeping an open dialogue with China as Western powers try to convince it to put pressure on Russia to end its war against Ukraine. Now, according to reports, the discussions are also likely to cover the Indo-Pacific region. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said Wang is also planning to visit several countries, including Italy, Hungary, and Russia. In a first such visit since the Syrian conflict between the two neighbors, Jordan's foreign minister, Ayman Safadi, arrived in Damascus. The two have long been at odds over regional issues. According to reports, the visit to show solidarity after the recent earthquake will be followed by one to Turkey. Safadi's visit will focus on humanitarian needs and how Jordan, a neighbor that hosts tens of thousands of Syrian refugees, can help in the ongoing relief operations. Sarasadat, an Iranian chess player, has stated that she has no regrets after she competed without a hijab in a tournament. The 25-year-old further stated that it was a gesture in support of the protest movement against her country's clerical leadership. Khadem arrived in Spain in January on a residence visa linked to the purchase of property. She stated that Iranian authorities had told her to record a video saying that she regretted her actions as a condition of returning home. After her refusal to do so, the Iranian player had an arrest warrant issued against her in Iran. A group-wide IT system failure at a Lufthansa flight left thousands of passengers stranded. The German airline blamed underground engineering works at a railway station in Frankfurt that reportedly cutting several fiber optical cables. Photos and videos from several German airports showed thousands of passengers waiting to be checked in. The IT system failure comes 2 days ahead of planned strikes at 7 German airports that are expected to lead to major disruptions, including potentially at the Munich Security Conference, where world leaders are expected to gather. David Malpas will be stepping down as president of the World Bank. This comes nearly 4 years after former President Donald Trump nominated him to run the 189-nation agency. Malpas, an economist, earlier served as U.S. Undersecretary of the Treasury for International Affairs. Malpas has been a critic of the World Bank. He argued that it had focused too much on its own expansion and not enough on its core mission of fighting poverty. At least 39 killed in Panama after a bus carrying more than 60 migrants falls off a cliff. The bus carrying migrants traveled through the Darien Gap, a dangerous stretch of jungle that connects Colombia to Central America, and was heading towards a shelter located in the western coastal province of Chiriquí, which borders Costa Rica. According to Panama's Social Security Authority, about 20 people were hospitalized with injuries and some of them severely wounded. Thousands of people took to the streets of Colombia's major cities to protest against social and economic reforms presented to Congress by leftist President Gustavo Petro. The demonstrations were organized by the opposition right-wing Democratic Center Party. Colombia's opposition have blasted Petro's proposals, saying they endanger the country's economic stability and could plunge it into chaos with higher poverty. President Petro, however, has stated that the policies will improve access to healthcare and protect people's rights.
Hablar de una hoja de ruta clara para el futuro de Colombia.
At least 73 migrants have been reported missing and presumed dead following a shipwreck off the Libyan coast. The International Organization for Migration informed through Twitter that 7 survivors made it to shore from the boat, which was carrying around 80 people, who had reportedly departed from Qasr al-Khair, east of Tripoli, to head to Europe. Venezuelan opposition leaders announced primary elections to designate a unitary presidential candidate to participate in the 2024 elections. The National Primary Commission, which is a group of academics, political leaders and experts, was created last year to organize and oversee the primary election process. Now, the primaries will be open to all Venezuelans registered in the electoral roll. The opposition's hopes to rally supporters after years of futile attempts to unseat the socialist government of President Nicolas Maduro.
Gracias a todos los que se han incorporado.
Brazilian President Lula da Silva inaugurated the return of the My House, My Life housing program in the city of Santo Amaro, Bahia State. The program, originally established during his first government in 2009, was then taken over and recreated by his successor and now predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro, under the name Green and Yellow House. The main new feature of Lula's housing program is the reintegration of the segment of the population with low income. It also extends to those families with monthly gross income up to $505. Mexican president denies the claims made at the New York trial that one of his election campaigns had received drug cartel money. An attorney from former security chief Genaro Garcia Luna, who is accused of abetting the Sinaloa cartel, questioned a former drug trafficker about the alleged $7 million payment. Speaking at a conference, López Obrador called the lawyer slanderous and crooked, adding, "We are not gangsters, nor are we corrupt." Former security chief Garcia Luna is accused of receiving vast sums of money to allow the Sinaloa cartel to smuggle cocaine when he was former President Calderón's public security minister between 2006 and 2012. At least 12 were killed following heavy floods triggered by heavy rains in South Africa. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had declared a national state of disaster to enable an intensive response to widespread flooding that has affected 7 of the country's 9 provinces. According to reports, the floods have resulted in wide-ranging impact, from flooded homes and vehicles to the loss of basic infrastructure. Hundreds of Serb nationalists and pro-Russia activists rallied in downtown Belgrade, threatening riots if Serbia accepts a Western-backed plan aimed at mending ties to Kosovo. Protesters carried posters reading "Kosovo, no surrender" and cheered "Serbia, Russia." One of the protesters, also an ultra-nationalist, addressing a cheering crowd, called on Russia to remove President Alexander Vučić if he fails to block Kosovo's admission to the UN. Cleanup and recovery efforts are underway in New Zealand after Cyclone Gabriel left 5 dead and more than 9,000 displaced. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the damage was extensive, as he praised New Zealanders for supporting each other. According to an official, though the weather has improved around the Auckland region, authorities continue to see impacts to unstable land. A sandstorm has hit the desert city of Las Vegas. Whirling clouds of sand made driving conditions on a highway particularly treacherous. Locals complained of poor visibility as they couldn't even see in front of them. Video captured by a resident showed cars appearing to disappear into a tan-colored wall of sand as they progressed down the highway. A rare video from the 1986 dive that was the first to film the sunken ship Titanic has been released. The footage, captured by a team from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, showed the Titanic lying on the seabed after the ship sank on its maiden voyage. Efforts to locate the luxury liner began after the ship sank in 1912, but were unsuccessful until advances in deep-sea technology led to its discovery in 1985. The ship was sailing from Southampton, England to New York when it hit an iceberg and sank, and an estimated 2,000 passengers on board, some 1,500 died. The earliest and most complete Hebrew Bible ever discovered, that dates back more than 1,100 years, is to be sold at an auction. The estimate value is expected to reach $50 million. According to an expert, if the 1,000-year-old holy book sells for near its estimated value, the Codex Sassoon would become the most valuable printed text or historical document ever sold at an auction. The Codex Sassoon is named after the precious owner David Solomon Sassoon, who acquired the Bible in 1929 and assembled one of the most significant private collections of Judaica and Hebraica manuscripts in the 20th century. A team of Peruvian paleontologists has unearthed the well-preserved skull of a prehistoric sperm whale. According to researchers, the skull, complete with teeth and jaws, was preserved in the desert area for 7 million years. The 4.3 feet long skull belonged to an adult whale, estimated to be between 16 and 18 feet long. The skull has been put on display in Lima's National History Museum. The 71-year-old musician and former police frontman Sting will be honored at this year's Ivors, the annual awards honoring songwriters and screen composers. He will also be awarded a fellowship by the Ivor's Academy. Sting, who has already won 7 Ivor Novello awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2002, will become the Academy's 23rd fellow.